Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Raymond Queneau Hall at the Maison de l'Étudiant for the opening session in Le Havre of the Rise of Asia 2024 conference. My name is Julie Balzard.
And my name is Sarah Dulongchamps.
Both students from the master's degree International Business and Management with Asia under the direction of Mr. Darwis Kudori. We are delighted to host you for this session following the first day of the conference held in Paris.
We are honored to welcome speakers from all around the world to discuss various topics with a common thread focusing on the rise of Asia. Each year, this conference provides an opportunity for collective information sharing on crucial issues that deeply concern us, especially in a world troubled by fear, poverty, wars, and natural disasters resulting from climate change. In these uncertain times, it is crucial for us, contemporaries of this era, to foster hope, unity, and build a better world together.
In this context, as highlighted by Mr. Darwis Kudori in his introduction to the conference, the main themes will revolve around topics such as culture, ecology, economy, politics, and religion, among others, contributing to this broader overarching issue. What are the challenges and what are the perspectives for Asia in particular and for the world in general, so that the rise of Asia will benefit not only Asian people but also other people in the world, and so that the rise of Asia allows the world to progress together towards a sustainable development, prosperity and peace, justice, cooperation, diversity, and solidarity.
But before delving into these topics with openness, curiosity, and passion, we will now hear from several prominent figures who would like to share a few words with you. Firstly, we invite Mr. Jean-Noël Castorio, Vice President responsible for Sustainable Development, International Affairs and Culture, as well as the first Vice President of the University Le Havre Normandy, to address the audience.
I'm proud. Just a few words, 2 words in fact. First, of course, to thank Mr. Kudori for the organization of this colloquium. It's the 7th edition? The 8th edition, and it's a very strong point in our scientific programmation. So thank you, Darwis, for all this work, for all the years of work about this subject. Thank you. Thank you, of course, to all the speakers and to the students. What is very interesting is this participation of students and got a very good accent. Thank you. Not like me. And second, I want to say that Asia is very at the core of the international politics of the University of Le Havre. 2 examples. We will open our first campus with 3 other French universities in Central Asia in September, next September. That's strong progress in our politics, I think. We just signed, I know that there is somebody from the Embassy of Indonesia. We just signed an agreement with the universities of Indonesia to receive each year 40 students. So there's a lot of things that are going on, and we think that it's very important for us, we are a port in Le Havre, to have this strong relation with the great port of Asia. So that's our politics. Thank you. I'll finish. Thanks.
We express our gratitude to Mr. Jean-Noël Castorio for his speech, and we now extend an invitation to Mrs. Morgane Chevé, Dean of the Faculty of International Affairs at the University of Le Havre Normandy, to address the audience.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, dear representatives of partner institutions, dear members of the organizing committees, dear participants to the conference, dear colleagues, dear students. So, looking through my archives, I realized that this was the 8th time that I've been here with you to take part in the opening of this conference, organized every year, both in Paris and Le Havre, and thanks to the work of our colleague Darwis Kudori. So this makes one, or maybe the most established and long-standing scientific event in our institution, which is already a success by itself. And so, for once, I will make a slightly change in the order of the traditional opening speech. I wanted to thank him, and before welcoming you for the excellent work he is doing in making our university widely known and recognized in your respective countries. So thank you very much, Dawes, for this work. And of course, it is a great pleasure, as always, to welcome you all in Le Havre, in our university for this conference, which every year manages to renew itself and address subjects that are both crucial and difficult, as you really rightly said. So this year, the challenges of a fair and efficient transition to a sustainable world are particularly important for me. I am very interested to see how your work will help to improve our understanding of these issues. The framework of this conference, which brings together researchers and intellectuals of different generations, from different regions in the world, from different countries, from different disciplinary fields, is particularly favorable to exchanges and fruitful, collectively finding a way in promoting awareness and debates beyond the academic community. That's why I'm particularly pleased that this conference is being held in our institution. So I would like to warmly thank all the people who are involved in the organization in this conference, including, of course, partner institutions. I've already thanked my colleague, Dawes, but I would also thank the other colleagues that are involved. I saw Ari, who was there. And, of course, all the students who are here today or behind their computers throughout the conference to assist you in your discussions and to share their knowledge of our beautiful city to make your stay as pleasant and interesting as possible. So let me once again welcome you here in Le Havre and wish you a successful conference. Thank you.
We extend our gratitude to Mrs. Morgane Chevé for her speech. And now we invite Mrs. Myriam Boussahba-Bravard, Director of the GRIC, to share her remarks.
Dear guests, dear speakers, dear colleagues, dear students, and dear public, it is my great pleasure as well to welcome you in Le Havre for the 8th edition of The Rise of Asia in Global History and Perspectives. I'm the director of GRIC. GRIC means Research Group on Identities and Cultures with meaningful plurals. As a director of the GRIC Research Center, I'm happy to show our support and interest in this annual 3-day symposium that in 2024 includes speakers based in 52 countries, either of residence or institution. I wish to welcome more specifically 2 colleagues who've been invited professors to GRIC, Isaac Bazier, somewhere in the room, thank you, Isaac Bazier and Seema Mehra Pariar. Where is Seema? Well, she'll be here very soon anyway. So Isaac is professor of literature and a specialist of African studies. Seema is professor of geography and a specialist of gender studies. So we in the GRIC decide collectively on who will be our yearly invited professors, and indeed they come from varied countries worldwide and from diverse disciplines as well. Our interdisciplinary research center gathers academics who lecture and research in area studies, namely Asian studies, Hispanic studies, British and American studies, as well as French studies. This conference, based on hybridity between disciplines and locations, something that we like and encourage within GRIC, will pave the way to excellent conference moments now and a worthy publication later, I guess. This new edition of The Rise of India is an international and interdisciplinary conference organized over 2 institutions, Paris 1 Panthéon-Sorbonne and Le Havre Normandy. In the 2024 program, the 5 entries are culture, ecology, economy, politics, religion. My only regret is that gender and women's issues have become a cross issue instead of a block entry. But I'm being selfish here, a bit focusing on my own research interest. Beyond interdisciplinarity, the second structuring idea of this conference is multinational. With contrasts, similarities, and juxtapositions, the sessions will build the bigger picture, while the practical cross-issues feed the program development. More importantly, it raises the question of shared identities in a unique space, Asia, defined by geography and, above all, common history before and after European empires. This question of shared identities is not specific to Asia. It finds a worldwide relevance in the political cultures, political in the broader sense of the term, of human societies. The program is, as usual, stimulating. The practical organization is a challenge that Darwis Kudori and his team tackle every year, off-site and on-site. Many thanks to Darwis and the scientific committee who have created a wonderful program. Many thanks as well to the supporting student team. Welcome to all of you at Le Havre Normandy University. Welcome to GRIC. I wish you great scientific success for this conference, a moment of conversation and shared thinking, and a vital moment for scientific production. Thank you.
We extend our gratitude to Mrs. Myriam Boussahba-Bravard for her speech, and we now invite Dr. Liu Anik Mayani, Cultural and Educational Attaché at the Embassy of Indonesia, to share her remarks. Please come.
Okay, thank you. Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, we would like to thank Le Havre University, especially Darwis Kudori, for inviting the Embassy of the Republic of Indonesia to present at this conference. And now, please let me read my speech. Ladies and gentlemen, the bilateral cooperation between Indonesia and France has developed rapidly since both countries elevate its collaboration into a strategic partnership in 2011. In the field of education, Indonesia and France has bilateral forums called Joint Working Group on Education, as well as Joint Working Group on Higher Education. One indicator to measure the success of these bilateral forums is the increasing numbers of Indonesian students in France, or vice versa. Under the policy of Merdeka Belajar, or emancipated learning, of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research and Technology of Indonesia, we continuously support Indonesian student mobility all over the world, including France. This year, there are 9 French education institutions which are selected to host the Indonesian students under the ISMA program, Indonesian International Mobility Awards, and ISMA Vocational, 2 scholarship programs which enable Indonesian undergraduate students to experience 1 semester abroad. Furthermore, the conference we have today, The Rise of Asia, also has a strategic value to raise awareness about Asia in general, as well as Indonesia in particular. The presence of experts from Asia and other countries may enable us to discuss how Asia as a region will benefit not only for Asian people, but also other people in the world, as well as how Asia plays its important role to maintain a sustainable prosperity in peace, justice, cooperation, diversity, and also solidarity in the world. In addition, in this opportunity, I would also like to share that the Indonesian Embassy in Paris always supports various efforts to improve bilateral cooperation between Indonesia and France. In addition to education, we also promote exchanges in the field of culture, as well as promoting Indonesian language at the international level. Ladies and gentlemen, recently on the 42nd General Conference of UNESCO on the 20th November 2023, Bahasa Indonesia has been officially acknowledged as one of the UNESCO's languages of the General Conference. We believe that this achievement could strengthen the role of Indonesian language not only at our home country, but also at the international level. So finally, I would like to thank the officials of the Havre University and also from GRIC, and once again, Bapak Darwis Kudori for our collaboration. We do hope that our collaboration can be further improved, not only for Indonesian language teaching at Le Havre, but also other field of education. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and I wish you a fruitful and meaningful discussion. Thank you.
Okay, now we have the pleasure to present to you the European anthem Ode to Joy, performed by Professor Harry Pascal Banet, Director of the Department of Romance and Germanic Languages and Professor of Italian at the university. He will be accompanied by an angklung performance. The angklung, originating from West Java and Banten provinces in Indonesia, were officially recognized by the UNESCO on November 18th, 2010 as a masterpiece of the oral and intangible heritage of the humanity. It is really linked with Asian culture as it cannot be played alone. This will be played by students from University of Le Havre, including those from our master's degree and other programs, under the direction of Mrs. Hagenbucher and Dr. Sima Meroparia, Professor of Geography from the University of New Delhi, invited by the Identity and Culture Research Group of the university. Thank you.
Et on va jouer ici.
1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
So before starting, I would like to explain in few words what is angklung. Angklung is musical instruments made of bamboo. And it is, I don't know when was created, because it's traditional. And it is adopted by UNESCO as explained already, Heritage of Humanity. I think for several reasons. First, it is ecological because it is made of bamboo. Second, it is collective. You cannot play alone because everyone just hold one note. You cannot play do all the time or re. So you have to be collective. The third, it is also very, how do you say, sustainable and economically encouraging and empowering people, because it is made in the villages. So it is not by the enterprise, the companies who create the instruments. So the students and some lecturers have made the exercise repetitions since 1 month, every time in the afternoon, one hour in the afternoon. So that's yeah. Now, are you ready? And it will be directed by Madame Yu Hagenbucher. It's a German name. Her husband. And the Anklung, the instruments, was belongs to the Embassy of Indonesia, was trusted to us since several years, and Madame Hagenbucher who hold this instrument, okay? And I will play as well, and all the students decided to wear black dress, except the singer, Hari, who will sing in German, and then Sima in Sari, but I wear as well my black and black, okay? So, you need this one? Je dois jouer. Which one?
Celui-là marche, oui.
Donc tu vas chanter avec ça. Oui.
Allô?
On va faire un exercice d'abord.
C'est bon? Non, pas encore. Oui. Non, je...
Freunde schöner Götterfunken, Tochter aus Elysium, wir betreten feuertrunken, himmlische dein Heiligtum. Deine Zauber binden wieder, was die Mode streng geteilt. Alle Menschen werden Brüder, wo dein sanfter Flügel weilt. Deine Zauber binden wieder, was die Mode streng geteilt. Alle Menschen werden Brüder, wo dein sanfter Flügel weilt.
C'est bon ou pas?
Non, non, ouais, il va attendre.
Sinon, on peut faire maintenant.
Félicitations. Bravo, j'ai déjà dit à votre camarade. Chapeau.
Merci, c'est gentil.
C'était super bien là. Ouais, c'était grave bien.
We thank all the participants for this outstanding performance. We will now invite Mr. Dawes Kudori, Director of the Master's Degrees in Exchanges with Asia, Conference Initiator and Convener at the University of Le Havre, to share the session.
Thank you very much. Now we will start our first and the only session, the only one session, which is supposed to go until 12 o'clock. And also, I would like to show you, this is the program, and we will have a keynote speech from Dr. Connie Raha Kundini Bakri, and we will have speakers Uyang Siang Ying, Sima Mehra Parihar, Makram Khuri Mahul, Isaac Bazier, and Marina Shilina. Here in this place. And online we will have many speakers from Palestine, from Nigeria, from India, from Greece, from Serbia, from Poland, from Hungary, from Morocco, from Uruguay, Brazil. So we have so many speakers for only less than 2 hours. So I will ask everybody to speak shortly, really short, just ideas, not exhaustive presentation of point of view, but just to give a glimpse of the ideas. And then after that, we can come back to the discussion if we have time. Okay? So I hope the speakers online as well, they hear my word. So we will start with a keynote speech by Dr. Connie Raha Kundini Bakri. She is Senior Defense and Military Analyst, obtaining her doctor's degree from the Universitas Indonesia in Political Sciences, specialist in Defense and Security Studies. She also graduated from Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies, Honolulu, Hawaii, USA, Fu Chi Kang War Academy, Republic of China, it means Taiwan, I think, and as well as the Chevening Executive Program for Democracy and Security at Birmingham University, UK. She was also a research fellow at the INSS, Institute of National Security Studies in Tel Aviv, Israel, and one of the 23 others chosen as future leaders by MIT Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Boston, USA. She has delivered speeches, among others, at the National Defense University and the East-West Center, Washington, D.C., in Brussels for the ASEM EU Regional Security Architecture, the Global Security Meeting in Bratislava, Slovakia, Geneva Center for Security Policy, Switzerland, Valdai International Discussion Club, Moscow, Russia, the House of Lords, Foreign Commission Office, and Department of Defense, UK. She has been teaching at several universities in Indonesia and abroad, including the Navy, Air Force, and Army Command College, also at School of Diplomacy of the Indonesian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. As a public intellectual, she frequently writes articles and gives speeches and interviews on challenges, needs, and problems of geopolitics, security, and defense in issues including the military posture and capabilities building. Her 2 books on Indonesian military and defense are a reference in defense and security studies in Indonesia. Now, Bu Connie, time is yours. And I would like to inform also the public that Ibu Connie, Ibu means Madam in Indonesian. Madam Connie will leave at 11 o'clock because she has to go to Birmingham just after this conference. So I apologize if she cannot participate fully in this session, morning session. Okay? Now, time is yours, Ibu Connie.
Thank you and good morning. My title today for my keynote speech is about geopolitical dynamic of Asia, superwar era, and the war around Indo-Pacific. Honorable professors, doctors, ladies and gentlemen, and all lovely Le Havre students. Thank you for joining me today, and thank you for inviting me, Pak Darwis, to discuss the evolving geopolitical dynamics in the Indo-Pacific region, where strategic interactions are reshaping the security landscape. The defense trajectory of our various ASEAN players, including those associated with the AUKUS, the Quad, and the FPDA, are critical aspects that warrant our attention. Firstly, the AUKUS alliances comprising Australia, the United Kingdom, and the United States has introduced a new dimension to regional security. The Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, or the Quad, comprising India, Japan, Australia, and the United States, underscored the shared commitment to a free and open Indo-Pacific. As we witnessed, the Quad development is imperative for nations to strike balance that promotes regional stability without provoking unnecessary tensions. The 5-power defense arrangement involving Malaysia, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom, as we evaluate the role, it's become evident that the regional security frameworks require careful examination and calibrations to ensure they serve the collective interests of all stakeholders. Now, how do major players like China, like Russia, respond to this development? China's concern with initiatives such as AUKUS and the Quad are clear, as they perceive potential challenges to existing balance of power. China's response may involve diplomatic maneuvers, military modernization efforts, and a strategic focus on economic influence. While the Indo-Pacific may not be a direct focus, Russia is likely to gauge in the implications of this defense trajectory on the broader geopolitical landscape. Diplomacy and nuanced responses will be key elements of Russia's engagement in the evolving regional security environment. In contemplating the future of war in the Indo-Pacific, it is imperative to recognize the strategic nexus position of Indonesia, a nation that uniquely situated at the crossroads of vital airspace and maritime corridors. As we develop into the defense trajectory unfolding in the region, Indonesia's role becomes increasingly pivotal in shaping the security dynamic in the Indo-Pacific. Firstly, Indonesia's archipelagic geography places at the confluence of critical maritime routes, which is the strategic Strait of Malacca, standing as one of the world's busiest and most significant choke points today. And the stability and security of these waters are fundamental, not only for Indonesia, but for the entire Indo-Pacific region. Indonesia's airspace positions adds another layer of significance. As we witness the potential for heightened defense activity in the region, Indonesia's airspace became an essential corridor for military movement, for surveillance, and strategic positioning. The nation's extensive airspace provides a critical vantage point, influencing the flow of regional security dynamic. Considering the ongoing development that broader geopolitical landscape, Indonesia's strategic nexus become even more pronounced. Indonesia's diplomatic prowess and capability in the independent and active foreign policy positions in the nations as a mediator, as facilitator in the regional affairs. The concept of dynamic equilibrium underscores Indonesia's commitment to maintain peace and harmony in the Indo-Pacific. Honorable Professor Doctors, ladies and gentlemen, and all lovely bright students of Le Havre, let us now talking about Sukarno visions in contemplating the future of Indo-Pacific war. In contemplating the future of war in the Indo-Pacific, it is essential to draw inspiration from the visionary perspective of Spirit of Bandung and Indonesia First President Sukarno. He profound insight on building a new world order and balance of power that endure relevance, particularly in the evolving geopolitical landscape that we witness today. Sukarno envisioned a world where nations could transcend ideological difference and work collaboratively to create new global order based on justice, equality, mutual respect, and he called it dynamic equilibrium that emphasized on the importance of balancing power dynamic to prevent the dominance of one nation over other, fostering a harmonious coexistence. Indonesia, with a strategic nexus in both airspace and maritime domain, finds itself uniquely positioned to contribute to Sukarno visions. As we navigate the defense trajectory and broader regional dynamics, Indonesia has opportunity to echo Sukarno's call for balanced world order. The strategic of Malacca Strait and Indonesia's extensive airspace serve as pivotal corridors for the flow of global commerce, for military and modern war activity. Indonesia, in embracing Sukarno's legacy, can play a central role in ensuring this vital passage remain open, secure, and conducive to the collective prosperity of the region. Indonesia's commitment to free and active foreign policy, articulated by Sukarno, again resonate the engagement with nations across all Indo-Pacific area. As we consider the future of war, Sukarno's vision reminds us of the imperative to seek dynamic equilibrium, avoiding unilateral dominance, and fostering a balance of power. Indonesia's commitment to diplomacy, multilateralism, and upholding international law embodies the spirit of Sukarno's vision for just and equitable world. As defense trajectory evolves with initiatives like AUKUS, the Quad, and FPDA, Indonesia stands at the crossroads, symbolizing not only regional stability but also playing a crucial role in shaping the balance of power. As we navigate the superwar era, Indonesia's commitment to Sukarno's ideal position is beacon to stability. The Strait of Malacca and the nation airspace serving vital corridors are not merely strategic pathway, but symbol of Indonesia's role on fostering balance of secure Indo-Pacific region. The superwar era are necessities as nuanced and multilateral approach, where nations collaborate to address common threats, uphold international norms, and ensure the prosperity of the global community. In conclusions, let us carry forward the legacy of Sukarno as we confront the complexity of the superwar era. Indonesia's strategic position, diplomatic acumen, and commitment to a balanced world order serve a guiding principle in our collective pursuit of future where justice, equality, and shared advancement prevail. Let us revisit and draw inspiration from Sukarno's visionary perspective as we navigate the complexity of the raw Indo-Pacific and the rest of Asia today. Indonesia's strategic nexus, coupled with its commitment to balance of world of power, position the nation as a torchbearer to regional stability and collaborative prosperity. In the word of Sukarno, let us strive for a world where nations stand together in equilibrium, forging a future built on justice, equality, and shared advancement. Thank you.
So now, thank you very much, Ibu Koni. Now I am inviting all the speakers offline to come on the stage. Let me check who they are. So, first, Ouyang Xiangying from China. She is a doctor in political sciences, Russian studies from Institute of World Economics and Politics from Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, Beijing. Bukoni, of course, you are invited to come here. Seema Mehra Parihar, Doctor in Geography, Professor at Kirori Mal College, Fellow Delhi School of Public Health, Institute of Eminence, University of Delhi. And then Makram Khuri Mahul, Doctor, Professor, Political Communication, International Relations, Cambridge Center for Palestine Studies, Cambridge, UK. Huh? Okay. And then Isaac Bazier, Burkina Faso, Canada, Doctor, Comparative Literature, Professor, Department of African Studies, Université du Québec à Montréal, Canada. And Marina Shilina from Russia, Doctor in Strategic Communication, Digital Media, Critical Data Studies, Independent Researcher from Moscow, Russia. One word for the chairing. Huh? Oh, yeah. I would like to go ahead that this session will be co-chaired not by myself and Ludmila Omunchen, because Ludmila has a health problem, so that she will not be able to come. And Isaac Bazier, Professor Isaac Bazier, is willing to be co-chair this session with me. Do you have any chair already? Okay. Okay. Boy, bruta. Okay. Now, shall we start? Because it's now already 10:23. And So I will ask everybody to speak short. 5 minutes, okay? It's okay. And then, so very short, because if it's you speak beyond 5 minutes, it will not have time for others. So now we will start with Ouyang Xiangjing. Please. So the theme of our roundtable is the rise of Asia and wars. So what is your point of view on these issues? In short, but including it is difficult because you will be translated into English. It is possible to speak shortly, okay? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
亲爱的朋友们，那么为什么我昨天还称呼大家是同行们，今天呢就要称大家为朋友们了呢？因为啊，无论是在昨天的这个会议上，还是在今天早晨的这个致辞的这个环节，我都深深地感觉到了这个友好。很多人聚集在这里，我们关心非洲，关心加沙，关心这个发展中国家。同时呢，我们也关心俄罗斯，关心印度，关心中国。我觉得这首先要感谢这个达维斯教授，他把一些正直无私的人呢聚集到一起。
I'm here to help Madame Ouyang to translate. And Yesterday I call everybody colleague. Today, I call everybody friends, because no matter in yesterday's meeting or in today's meeting, I feel that everybody friendly, and we get together. We care about the Africa. We care about the Gaza, Palestine, and we care about the undeveloped country. And at the same time, we care about the Russia and the India and China. First of all, I need to thank to Professor Davis. He brought together some decent and selfless people.
那么我们研究所呢，就是世界政治经济研究所，是中国社会科学院最好的研究所之一。在全球呢，经济政策和外交政策方面呢，具有比较大的影响力。那么我回去之后呢，也愿意把我们这个会议推荐给我的同事。
I work in the Academy of Social Science in China, and our institute is one of the best institute in China, also around the world. Our academy, we work in the economic policy and foreign policy. We have a relatively large influence. When I go back to China, I will also recommend this meeting to my colleagues.
昨天呢，在索邦大学，我就亚洲安全形势做了发言。关于地区热点问题，如朝鲜半岛、中国南海、台海局势等等呢，我就不想再重复了。
Yesterday, I was in Sorbonne University. I already made a statement on the security situation in Asia. I don't want to repeat the regional hotspot issues, such as the situation on the Korean Peninsula and the South China Sea and the Taiwan Strait.
我特别赞成 Paper 先生 他的主张，他主张泛多边主义，全球主义，这个是解决全球治理的一个好方法。
I particularly agree with Mr. Pape. His idea advocates the multilateralism and the globalism. This is a good way to solve global governance.
我也赞成Connie 教授对亚洲形势的分析。那么我觉得呢，就是实际上我们看到当今世界确实处于一个动荡变化的这样一个时期。那么我们其他国家怎么办？我想呢，这是一个很严重的问题。
I also agreed with the opinion of Professor Connie. Actually, we see that today's world really belongs to such a turbulent change. What should we do is a very serious problem.
甚至呢，我也不想指责美国，说美国呢，造成了这个亚洲和世界安全局势的紧张。那么我就想提出两个问题：世界怎么了？我们怎么办？
Even I don't want to blame the United States, saying that the United States caused the tension in the regional security situation in Asia, also around the world. Here, I would like to ask two questions. What's wrong with the world, and what do we need to do?
当今世界处于百年未有之大变局。 俄乌冲突呢还在持续，巴以冲突呢无人可制止，美国对中国的战略竞争和围堵加剧，到处都有可能爆发的潜在风险。那么尽管有一些好消息，比如说中东多国实现了和解，中美高层交流重启，法国呢有意与中国在气候变化和粮食安全上加强合作等等，但是总的来说，好消息还是太少了。
The world today is in a situation of great change, unprecedented in a century. The conflict between Russia and Ukraine is still ongoing. The Palestinian-Israeli conflict has not been stopped, and the United States has intensified its strategic competition and the blockade of China. And there are potential risks that may erupt everywhere. Although there is some good news, such as the reconciliation of many countries in the Middle East, the resumption of high-level exchanges between China and the United States, and also the France's intention to strengthen cooperation with China on climate change and food security. But there is still too little good news in general.
如果呢，你对这个安全形势很关心，那么很有可能坐在火山口上的感觉，不知道什么时候火山会喷发。然而呢，火山喷发不是人为操控的，而国际局势是人造成的。
If you are concerned about the international security situation, then it is likely that we have the feeling of sitting on a crater of volcano, and we don't know when the volcano will erupt. However, volcanic eruptions are not manipulated by human, but the international security situation is manipulated by human.
由于时间有限，我不想长篇大论地谈我的想法。我想提出两个问题： 一个是理论性的，一个是现实性的，请大家一起来思考。
Due to the time, I don't want to expand on my thoughts. I would like to raise two questions. One is theoretical, and the other is practical. Let us think about it.
第一呢，当今世界的冲突越来越与历史叙事联系在一起，而当事各方对历史的不同记忆和解读，使得分歧越来越加大，而不是拉近距离。应该怎样看待历史？是全面、辩证、客观中立地看待过去发生的一切，还是站在某个立场上，让历史为本国、本民族服务？
First, conflicts in today's world are increasingly linked to historical narratives, and the different memories and the interpretations of history by the parties involved are increasing rather than bring them closer together. How should we look at history? Whether we look at everything that happened in the past in a comprehensive, dialectical, objective, and neutral way, or should we stand on a certain standpoint and let history just serve for their own country?
法国学者呢，拉哈在这个一本书里边，他提出啊，这个应该建立共同历史准则，目的是什么呢？就是界定这个欧盟及其成员国如何与其往昔发生联系。这里的联系不仅是指共同的欧洲历史，而且也包括欧洲单个民族的历史。他提出呢，要这个禁止历史工具化、修正主义、复仇主义和愤恨，鼓励对相互间的历史和自身历史的反思和批判性认识，增加对其他欧盟国家民族历史的了解。那我认为呢，他的主张是建设性的，然而他的主张还没有被推广和接受。任何历史呢都是有伤疤的，在古代没有哪两个相邻国家完全没有发生过冲突和征战。那如果我们反复强调这一点，而不是和解和合作，这个世界会变成什么样子？恐怕比今天还要动荡。
The French scholar Fabrice Laha argues in Europe's torn memories, cognitive incoherence, and the challenges of a civilized approach to historical issues. He said that national identities are based on the competing and, to some extent, the antagonistic national memories and historical experiences, and that in order to build a greater sense of communal identity, a common historical norms should be established, the purpose of which is to define how the European Union and its members relate to its past. The past here refers not only to a common European history, but also to the past of individual European nations. To this end, he argues that there should be limits to the expression of national sentiment. That is, prohibiting historical instrumentalization, revisionism, revanchism, and resentment. We should encourage reflection and critical understanding of each other's history and their own history. And we should increase knowledge of the national histories of other EU countries. In my opinion, Fabrice Laha's ideas are constructive, but his idea has not yet been popularized and accepted. Any history has scars, and no neighboring country was completely free of conflict and conquest in ancient times. If we just emphasize These emphasize the scars repeatedly instead of reconciliation and cooperation. And I think the world will be even more turbulent than it is today.
Thank you. It's already over time. Can you come to the conclusion? Very, very short. Okay.
第二，这个联合国现在的这个运行效率不高，这个状况呢应该改变。如果说整个社会、国际社会变成一个没有一个共同的机构来协调，都变成双边或小多边，变成具有排他性质的小团体，那么二战以来为国际政治的进步所做的努力就化为泡影了。
The United Nations doesn't work efficiently, and there are also some resolution. The organizations and the conduct are not impeccable, but the Charter of United Nations and the resolutions of the Security Council should always be common norms for all countries to follow. And at present, I think some countries become bilateral and small multilateral become an exclusive group. So the efforts made since World War II will be in vain.
So can we stop here? Because after that we can continue in the discussion. Now, okay. I invite Sima. I'm sorry, Sima, that your PowerPoint is not recognized in my machine. So it is, you can just speak in 5 minutes.
So let that come?
Yeah.
So but I want my PowerPoint.
But be short, because otherwise it will take time. Now, I come to Makram, okay? So very short, Makram.
Would you like to speak from here, from there?
As you wish. You can speak from there or from here.
That's okay.
As you like. Yeah. Maybe just some word of your case, okay?
Yeah,
about the security. So you know here, Monsieur Makram Khourimahul, that he was 2 days before the conference. He got Makram. Who is Makram? Makram Khourimahul is the founder and director of the Cambridge Center for Palestine Studies. So he's very well known as a Palestinian scholar and activist. And 2 days before coming to France, he got a telephone call from unknown persons. 4 calls in Arabic, in English, and French. And all of them in the same sense, the same direction, to invite him or to persuade him not to go to France to speak about Palestine. It reminds us to what happened in November in Lyon, where a conference on Palestine was attacked by a group of people. Now the police made an investigation on 8 persons arrested for this attack in Lyon. So that's why yesterday 2 days before I contacted University of Paris Sorbonne, and it is amazing mobilization of security forces around Sorbonne for securing Makram. As well, in a University of Le Havre, of course, I informed the president and the staff, so everybody, the officials, they know the case, and you are sure that there's no problem here in University of Le Havre. But we never know outside university. I hope there's nothing happen. Okay? Thank you.
Excellencies, colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen, many thanks for inviting me yet again to deliver a speech at your esteemed conference. And thank you, Dawis, for your dedication and relentless work. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been a student and a teacher of international relations and political communications. And indeed, many times I try to typify the difference between international relations and political communication, let alone that at times political communication tries to distort or mislead processes in international relations and diplomatic ties. When we talk about issues that are related to international crises, such as the Palestinian cause, we always talk about the position of political global powers, such as the permanent members of the UN Security Council, for example. And on this very matter, one should discuss positions such as, are they working towards a win-win situation where they can find a conflict resolution to the ongoing misery, or, in fact, do they and are they part of an ongoing zero-sum game where one party wins and the other party loses? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure that you are aware that the Palestinian people have been suffering for at least 107 years since the letter of Lord Balfour was issued in 1917 by the Foreign British Secretary, when he promised a home for the Jewish Zionist organization. It was a letter delivered by Lord James Balfour to the Rothschild in Britain, promised them, obviously the British did not own Palestine, but they imagined they owned half of the world, and then they wanted to grant Palestine to someone who does not deserve and has nothing to do with that land. In any case, after 3 decades, in 1947, they partitioned Palestine, and they said to the Palestinians that you can only have hardly half of your land and country, and 2 states must be established there. Well, since then, since 1947, and the Palestinian catastrophe, only 1 state was established, which is the State of Israel, which turned into the occupying power in the whole of Palestine. In 1967, adding the occupation of the second part of Palestine, the eastern part of Palestine, leading us to today, where we have been witnessing in the last 5 months what I called a combination of ethnic cleansing, genocide, beside the apartheid. Now, many people talk about these terms without explaining them. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a threefold project that the Israeli occupation, especially during the regime of Netanyahu, has been implementing. One angle, if you try to imagine a triangle, one angle is apartheid against the Palestinians who became citizens of Israel in what I call Western Palestine, or the technically State of Israel. Now, in the West Bank and Gaza, the Israeli occupation has been increasing settlements and settlers, up to 1 million nearly now of Jewish settlers in the 1967 occupied territories of the West Bank and East Jerusalem. There, they have been perpetrating a slow but in installment genocide and ethnic cleansing. However, during the last 5 months, what we have been seeing is a full-scale ethnic cleansing and genocide in the Gaza Strip, which has been already besieged for the last 17 years from land, sea, and air, to the extent that the Israeli occupation controls every piece of medicine or food and water supply and all the rest of it. Now, as you must have seen at the UN just 2 days ago, most of the members of the UN Security Council have voted for a ceasefire. The only spoiler has been the United States of America, which has been supporting the Israeli occupation. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, European Jews have suffered at the hands of Nazi Germany, and many of them were slaughtered and butchered in the most abominable manner in Europe during the Second World War. However, being slaughtered and butchered by some Europeans does not grant you a license to butcher and Holocaust other nation 80 years later, nor does it grant the Holocausters, the Germans, to have a second victim after having the first victim, the European Jews, and now they're having a second victim, the victims of their victim, i.e. the Palestinians. Therefore, I go back to the theory of détente and the theory of conflict resolution. Do we want an international community which would like to resolve the conflict peacefully, reaching détente through obviously a win-win situation? Or do we still want to obey the bully, i.e. the American regime, only imposing only a zero-sum game where they want the Israeli occupation to win because they are their agents in the Arab world and not granting the Palestinian people their rights and their liberation and freedom. So this is a very important point to look at the international system and how things interplay. And I do call you to please follow the news from Palestine, because every day at least 200-300 Palestinians are being killed, including children and women. In the Gaza Strip, we have reached 30,000 Palestinians killed and around 100,000 injured, with 2.3 million Palestinians now are living in what we knew in Germany as concentration camp, being starved by the Israeli military occupation. The whole world is literally trying to convince and put pressure on the Israeli occupation and its main supporter, the United States, at the moment to no avail. But finally, at least my country now, I do not mean Palestine, I mean the United Kingdom, recently, just yesterday, voted finally for an immediate ceasefire. Let's call everybody to have a little bit of humanity and morality, which is part and parcel of the international values, so that we can have at least a lasting peace and justice for Palestinians and for the rest of the peoples of the region. Many thanks.
Thank you, Makram. So we go directly to Sima. Please keep short, okay? Sima.
I was just wondering whether we should have clapped when he spoke or we should just have been silent. Today I'm going to speak on why should we afford war? Why should we afford war? Or should we afford war? That's something what I'm talking about. And so, of course, as I said yesterday, nonviolence, tolerance, pluralism, unity in diversity, and so on and so forth, are they empty words or they have a meaning today? So I'm going to speak today, why should we have war? And when there is military expenditure, global risk, and all that data just now what is shared, but when we want peace, prosperity, and solidarity. And if you look at it, for me, my journey, when I started off this presentation, I thought, can we afford war? But then I thought, no, that's incomplete. Why should we afford war is the topic. If you look at this figure that you're seeing, that is conveying equality, equity, and liberation. Actually, our country is actually wanting that. Do they understand the meaning of equality, equity, and liberation? I mean, that's something my key question is. Do people also understand equity, or they only give equal funds to everybody? Is that enough today? Is equity enough today? That's something like, something so very important. And equity is so very important to understand. At the outset, let's just go into little basics. And one of them is, of course, the largest army in the world, ranked by latest data, which was just there a few days back that came, is that, we have so many people in China, so many people in India, United States, Russia, North Korea, Ukraine, Pakistan, Iran, South Korea, and all that. It's not the question of so many people, but the question is why we are spending so much just on the preparation of war. And let's look at the defense spendings. The latest data that's there, we are spending $961 billion of the total global expenditure was the data that's given in 2022. And $2.24 trillion was spent in America, most notably in North America. And the Caribbean had the least spending in the region, $11 billion. $540 billion was spent in Asia, $480 in Europe, and $39 billion in Africa, and 35 and so on and so forth. The point that I'm trying to make just now is that, and if you look at the war that we all are talking even today about, the Ukraine and the Russia war, so many countries are, on the other hand, all right, we have money, and that country is in need of something help, so we'll give help. So European Union, United States, Germany, Great Britain, Norway, Japan, Canada, and all of them, Poland, Netherlands, and Denmark, are spending 84.9. And so, if you look at the data, they're spending so much in giving support. Support is given in three forms: financial support, humanitarian support, and military support. Let's now come to the issue, and let's now come to the point in case if we are coming. And so I just want you to look at this also, just that, in case if you look at the world that we live in today, let's just have now a reality check. That's something what I told you, how many people are there. Let's just quickly have a reality check. This economic growth projection is showing that 3.4, 2.9, it's going sliding, and it's only in the Asian or developing economy, it's going up. And if you look at the growth projection by region in terms of economics, United States 2.0, 1.41 is sliding down. But again, expenditure on the army and the defense is going up. So that's something that's so ironical, and we need to question all that. Why is it there? And Global Risk Report 2023 and 2023 and 2024, if you just look at it, it's saying that there are severe risk, much severe risk than what we think is a risk. And this transnational risk will become harder to handle as global cooperation erodes. The report considers the implication of this fragmented world where preparedness for global risk is ever more critical, but is hindered by lack of our desire actually. And that's something which is so very important. And the global risk 2024, if you look at it, can you see in the first graph which is there, that graph, you have economic risk, you have environmental risk, you have social risk, technological risk, even this thing. But if you look at it in orange, you only have one risk. And we are doing maximum spending there. That's something is a key question that I'm going to ask. And we are having extreme, and this report which just came few days back, current risk landscape 2024 data, it is saying today we have 66% of the risk related to extreme weathers, that means climate change. 53% of the risk are related to artificial intelligence generated misinformation and disinformation. 46% to the societal and political polarization. 42% to the cost of living crisis. 39% to cyber attacks. Is it showing any risk related to war? No. And this is something, and responses by different institutions also are something, in case if you look at it, you all can do it, you all can see this data later. My only question out here is, please look at, can we see somewhere some graph with orange color? Because that's geopolitical. That's only one, or it's missing. So that means you're finding that in case if you look at civil society, also think that that's the 9th risk. 1st to 8th are related with either environmental or societal risks. Similarly, international organizations are also thinking the top 3 are not related with geopolitical risk, or academia also, if you have a look at it, government also, private sector also. My key question is, then why are we spending billions and billions and trillions of dollars on this? Over 10-year perception, in case if one look at it, again, in this chart, why did I put this chart here from this report? Can you see any one of you see any orange color there? Orange color represents geopolitical risk. We have economic, environmental, societal, technological. It's just not there. Then why are we spending trillions of dollars in it? By different age groups also, perception varies. If you look at it, top 4, none of them are saying, neither the younger lot, less than 30, neither 30 to 40, 40 to 50, 50 to 60, or 60 to 70 or 70. The top 4 risks are not there. So which word are we wanting? Or why are we wanting a word like this? And similarly, in 2033, and the risks are so many. Even when it comes to when we have so many women who are sitting here, Global Gender Gap Report, latest 2024 is saying we are not having gender parity. In North America, it will take Europe, which is at the top right now, 76.3%, but again, it will take 67 years to come to that level of gender parity. For North America, who is spending so much money, 95 years will take to come or, bridge that gender gap. And similarly, in Asia, 167 years, East Asia, 189 years, and Middle East, 152 years. So, we are talking about DEI in our industry, diversity, equity, inclusion as lovely topic in the last page, but are we doing anything about it? Climate change is just there. It's just there. And so concern 1 is that we are talking that 1.1 degrees, and concern 3 is that, but what is the issue? Issue is that more finance is needed to scale that solution. But are we giving that much finance or not is my key question. And now in case, at least, we need so much, and the military spending is for what? Military spending is for peacekeeping, defense ministries, paramilitary forces, and so on. And military spending is so much in case, if you look at it, 2020, if I said 1.981 trillion, and so many countries are spending it, this data is something which really touches our heart. And again, the question is why? But my key question in the end that I want to make, if you look at it, this is the global military spending, reality check inside Asia, again, people are spending so much. And so when it comes to SDG goals, again, it's not meeting, though they are spending. The top 3 countries are not meeting and not doing it. Contradiction. The last thing that I want to impress upon you. In 2020, the US spent $778 billion on military spending and $961 billion of the total global expenditure. But for climate change issues, we only need $127 billion per year. And it is only 4% to 8% of the money that's being spent there of this 23 billion. So just so less, it's not being spent. This is the last slide. Just the last slide. I just want all of you to look at it. This is the standing buoy of Nagasaki. And this buoy, if you have a look at it, it's having if you look at it, you must have seen this. There is this boy, and he's having his brother on his shoulders. And the soldier was saying, please take him down. And he said, no, he's my brother. So let's also treat everybody as our brothers and sisters. And leaving your thoughts here, just think that why should we afford wars? Thank you.
So now, yeah. So, as it was said that Ibu Koni will leave, so you want to have some word before leaving?
Yes. Thank you. Yes, I'm sorry. I really want to join until finish, but I have to go to Nottingham for another class. So I just want to remind that whatever Shima just present and from a China representative, I think the most important thing we have to remember that this year is the election years of the centuries. We have 16 elections in Africa, we have 16 elections in Asia, we have 28 elections in Europe, we have 4 elections in Oceania, and we have election in United Nations Security Council. And to cut the story short, we have the 7 world's most populous from 10 populous nations with the election issue. So whatever that we discussed this morning and on my keynote speech, I just want to remind us, I hope we can choose leaders that be able to really solve the problem. Because if the leaders are unable to deliver all the key priorities, then I think may result in diminishing of their collective and individual influence on the global stage. And perhaps we have to we will fail to address the defense trajectory that I mentioned, that Sima presented very well, that if leaders cannot prioritize technological innovation and research and development, we may lead to missed opportunity for economic and for diversification and competitiveness in the global market. Last but not least, it is essential for leaders to recognize the interconnected of the challenge and the importance of collaborative. I think that's my final word. I'm looking forward to see you again, and I'm sorry I have to leave. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye. Thank you. Ya, terima kasih Bu Koni. Now, Isa, your turn.
Okay.
Please keep short.
Yes, of course. So,
otherwise, Dimitri's who is in Greece.
Oh, yes, I will just read a few words here, and it will be very short. So, thank you. Let me quote Stefan Zweig in Sternstunden der Menschheit. Zweig said about history. He said, in this mysterious workshop of God, history, meaning history, a considerable number of trivial, uninteresting events also take place. Here, as everywhere in art and life, sublime, unforgettable moments are a rarity. More often than not, history is indifferent, contenting itself with steadily adding up fact after fact. The links in the immense chain that spans the millennia for every tension requires a period of preparation, every genuine event and evolution. A people must always generate millions of men before a genius is born. Millions of idle hours must pass in the world before an hour of real historical significance appears. End of quote. This hour of real historical significance is what I call a 0 hour, a breaking point. Wars are breaking points, or they participate in creating such 0 hours. The war in the Sahel zone is such a 0 hour. Sometimes, particularly in the context of tensions and wars, hours bearing a real historical significance are experienced as tragedies, and of course, they are tragedies. These challenging moments are also moments of opportunities, able to become a chance to redesign communities. Germany after the Second World War, or Rwanda after the genocide occurred 30 years ago. The war against terrorism in the Sahel is the point at which the colonial energies and revolutionary initiatives over decades culminated. While trying to get rid of terrorists, countries like Burkina Faso identified the entanglements between local and global terrorism, historical violence, and neo-colonialism, colonial long-lasting structures. This is how an apparently local war, the war against terrorism, can lead to another one, bigger and more encompassing. The bigger war is one for national identity based on patriotism, sovereignty, self-sufficiency, justice, and sustainable prosperity. In this context, Asian countries have an important role to play. There are two possible positions. The one is to re-establish the old, so-called democratic system based on elections, and we know what this means. It's one of the reasons why we face instability in the region, because just to win elections doesn't solve the problem of the majority of people in these regions first. But there is a position to just wait and try to re-establish a system that doesn't work for the sake of people and for the prosperity of people. So, and then the second position is to engage and support the efforts of winning the war against terrorism. And I hope in Burkina Faso, for instance, people hope that the war against terrorism will end this year, that they will, tackle the issue. But the bigger one I mentioned, the encompassing war against long-lasting neo-colonial structures. It will still be to fight. And I think this is the second position, and Asian countries are able to, they will get involved. They are involved in this war, like I said yesterday, because of investments, economic interests, but also because we have common ideals and we have principles. Since Bandung, we have shared values, and it's important not to wait that the situation settles and then come back to try to make money. Let me put it that way. But to show this shared values and support a fight that still have to be acknowledged and finish the decolonization we engaged since for decades, and we have a way to go these days, and it means also war, and we have to face it. So thank you. We will have more to say during the discussion.
Thank you, Isaac. Yes, 5 minutes sharp. Very good. Okay, now let's go to Marina. I don't know if you can speak as short as Isaac.
I would be more shorter.
Okay.
Dear President, dear colleagues, thank you for having me here. I just want to mark 3 paradoxes connected with the situation since 2022, connected first of all with the situation with Russia and Ukraine. First of all, it means that Russia turned to the east. In our official foreign office foreign policy concept, printed on March 2023, it is marked that the drift toward the east is one of the main issues for our country for today. And last decade, in fact, last decade, Russia's turn to the east has a fundamental bearing on country's policy to build closer ties with Asian countries. But this is a paradox, so-called the Asian paradox. What does it mean? Researchers said that it's a story from the late 19th about hot economics and cold politics model. So relations are de facto divided into a higher part, politics and security, and a lower part, trade, which do not contradict each other. This paradox is really paradoxical because one of our think tanks presented several scenarios for the future in 2017, as I told yesterday in La Sorbonne, and will present tomorrow at our session. So it was announced 3 scenarios for 2037 about La Belle Époque, so very friendful state-to-state relations. about bonanza scenario, about fruitful national development, and the warring kingdoms, about military and political confrontation. As a result of my research about the dynamics of relations, bilateral relations of Russia and Asian countries, Russia and unions of Asian countries, and in BRICS Plus in particular, it means that the warring kingdoms military confrontation scenarios are not so useful for today, even in this perspective of situation with the confrontation of Russia and Ukraine, and in fact Russia and the West. And the second paradox, I should say, it's a paradox of digital mediation, because all the political situations are totally mediated. We don't know exactly what it is in real life. We just know about the mediation of these situations. And in fact, when we see real people from Palestine, from India, from Ouagadougou, from Indonesia, it is a best chance for us as scientists to make theoretical and conceptual frameworks at the sessions like this. So it is the real life as it is. And thanks to this conference, thanks to Professor Kuduri, we have this chance. So let's use it as fruitful as possible. Thank you.
It's amazing how come that in 3 minutes you can present many things. Bravo. So, now, now it's all the offline speaker already finished. Now we come to the online speakers. We have how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9 speakers. And we have around 45 minutes. So it's, if everybody speaks 5 minutes, and then it's finished 12 o'clock. Let's start, and everybody just 5 minutes. After that, we can extend maybe for the discussion in 15 or until 30 minutes, with the risk that because we will have lunch at the university restaurant and it will be long queue. So please, now we can call who is the first, Mazin. From Bethlehem, from Palestine. Are you there? Please activate your microphone. I don't see Mazin in the list of Mazin Kumsieh. Mazin Kumsieh is professor at Bethlehem University. No, it seems there's I don't see him. Okay, then we go to the second, Tony from Nigeria. Are you there? Do you see? No. Okay. And then Dhananjay Rai from India. Okay, Dhananjay.
Yeah,
are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
I'm ready. Very good. Okay, 5 minutes, sharps, okay?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jarvis, for the invitation and organizing this important international conference. And I'll take 4-5 minutes for my presentation. And I think the 4 things are very crucial, and they are caveats to understand why, while discussing the rising Asia, these caveats become very important. And I have been highlighting these caveats since Indonesia and on other platforms. One is that when we are discussing rising Asia, we have to also discuss something called identitarian nationalism, which is pervasive in many Asian countries. This is the first caveat, which is very important. And second is that there is a tendency within Asian countries also that there is a rejection of intertwined history, that and the emphasis on common history has not been highlighted, and the individuated history or identitarian nationalism has become very important. And third important development which I could see is prioritizing of contemporary. I think contemporary becomes very important, and contemporary concern rather than the historical legacy. And anti-colonial movements and decolonization history has not been taught or used as a formation of collectives, something called Asian collective. And fourth is that there is a massive distortion of the common history across the borders, particularly in South Asia and other places, where common history has been negated for the arrival of contemporary politics. So what is important that for Asia that and the existence has become a fait accompli in global discourse for the region, and the capitalist discourse perceives Asia as an existential realm. So when we are discussing about Asia, we see for development, but in a global discourse, Asia remains just existential realm. And second, that Asia is also considered as just a strategic preponderance, where just a strategic asset, nothing more than a strategic asset. And third, which is a very important, military-industry complex. And I think in globally, military-industry complex funded think tank, and they have highlighted Asia as important for the expansion of our market. So existence, strategic, military-industry complex, and imperialism become very important concern in Asia. And I think the coalescence history or common history has been marginalized. And this is very important when we are discussing nature of Asian state. And within the Asian state, we see three important developments. One is that each state is treating itself as an autonomous structure. And within this autonomous structure, there is a guardianship of the ruling classes who would reject other. I mean, there won't be any discuss of social justice or there will be theatrics of othering. And in many countries, we see also the contested zone. I mean, there has been a contestation on many other issues. So these are the important concerns, I think, which we need to address, because anti-imperial legacy has been converted into a partition psyche, and this partition psyche is not only partition of territory within Asian countries, but partition of people. And here, in place of forming common and commonality and common discourse and common history, there is a intertwined. There is a struggle within Asian countries, and this struggle is very much funded by the global capital. So I again highlight that we need to reject identitarian nationalism, which is a pervasive in many Asian countries, and we should actually claim intertwined history. And in place of just focusing on contemporary, decolonial legacy has to be claimed. And Asia cannot be considered just as a strategic existence or market for arms expansion by the military industry complex. These are my few comments, and hopefully we'll engage more. Thank you, David.
Thank you very much. 4 minutes. Sharp. Very good. Thank you. Now, Dimitris, are you there? Dimitris from Greece. I see you in the list of participants. Yes, Dimitris. Can you activate?
I'm here.
Yes. Please, Dimitris, I know that you are very rich in knowledge and reflection, and you are from Greece, you are in Athens. So please just give a little of your knowledge, a glimpse of your ideas, okay?
Okay, Darwish.
5 minutes
we are
maximum.
all very, very wise people. Unfortunately, our influence to the world is very limited. So this conference is devoted to the rise of Asia. This is this is a fundamental phenomenon of our time. There is no of our era. There is no doubt about it, and it is something welcome. Not only from Asians, but for democratic people around the world, because it is contributing to two tendencies. It is contributing to making the world more democratic in a way, to go far away from the unipolar moment of 1991. And the second, it's because I think that nowadays, for example, the Chinese regime or the Russian army or some state structures in the East and the South are bearing some kind of rationalism, which is dramatically lacking from the West. All that said, this is the half of the truth. Why it is half of the truth? Because it is very pleasant, for example, to get a better place in the world, but in the same time, the probability that this world will cease to exist are increasing. I mean, there are more and more problems which we are facing and which make the question of who is dominated or of who is more or less influencing less relevant than in the past. We're living after 1945 in a historical era which has no parallel with any other in human history. In the sense we can destroy the planet, we can destroy life, we can destroy civilization. And we will. We will for sure if we don't take very drastic radical measures which are for the time being very far away from the problematic, the dominant problematic, not only the West, but also in the East and in the South with very rare exceptions. What do I see? What is the image? You know, one question is, for example, and it was a huge step forward, that after, in the last 5 or 10 years, there was a decisive, so to say, refusal of Western domination on the planet, of the situation which has arisen after the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1989-1991. But this does not solve the problem. Why it does not solve the problem? Because the West has not the means to dominate the world. I hope they understand it, but I'm not certain they understand it after the Ukrainian debacle. It has not the means to dominate the world, but it has surely the means to destroy the world in its effort to not to lose its domination. So here we are in a very delicate moment. We see, for example, that in the last 2 years, after the Ukrainian crisis has broken, no one is doing anything for climatic change. Climatic change will come. It is in the laws of the nature. And if it is left unchecked, and if we don't take now measures, because in some time it will be impossible to avoid the consequences, they will become irreversible, hardly human civilization will be able to survive. And this seems to be outside any of the main political agendas. Maybe some leaders of Latin American countries are saying some things, all the others are not saying anything. In 2021, before the crisis in Ukraine erupts, we had the Glasgow conference, you remember. There was a lot of talk, no decisions, but at least there was a consciousness that there is a problem we have to solve. Now we have taken steps backwards, especially with what we are doing in Ukraine and in Gaza. The second thing is that the second very dangerous tendency is what is happening in Palestine. No country, even the United States, would be able to do what Israel is doing in the Gaza Strip. And I think it's not a local phenomenon. Israel can do this because of its central role in the global financial capitalistic system. Otherwise, you cannot explain. The United States seem to be dominated by Israel, and it is not Israel which is a proxy of the United States. So we are speaking about the kernel of Western financial capitalism. And this kernel is unfortunately reinventing Nazism. Nazism is not obligatorily a German phenomenon, or fascism an Italian phenomenon. It can reappear in any nation. And in that case, it is tragic, it is extraordinary, it is ironic, but it seems that it has reappeared in the very victims of Nazism during the Second World War. In the Jewish people, at least in the Jewish people who are living in Israel and are supporting this policy. In diaspora, things are a little bit more contradictory. The acceptance of this phenomenon is practically by the collective West, and especially the United States, and by our societies, is not a local thing, something that we are ready to sacrifice 2.5 million or 5 million Palestinians. It tells us something else, that we are ready to go to fascist solutions for the whole problems. For example, the guys who are the pillars of the United support for Israel are Blinken, Sullivan, Nuland. The same people are supporting also the war against Russia in Ukraine. So we see clearly inside the kernel of the Western system a party of war which is playing with sometimes with the Democratic, sometimes with the Republican Party. For example, Victoria Nuland was an advisor of Dick Cheney during the preparation of the Iraq invasion with the Republican administration, and she was also with Obama and Biden Democratic administrations. So it is the party of the war, the party which wants, which we can be afraid of resorting probably to a nuclear war in case they cannot protect otherwise their domination of the planet.
We got your idea. We got your idea and your information.
Sorry, I don't hear you, Darwish.
Aha. Oh, sorry.
So
do you see me? Do you see me?
No, I don't see you. I don't see you. I hear you now, but I don't see you.
In any case, it is very interesting, fascinating, and we will continue to discuss after. Okay? Is it okay?
Okay. So I will finish my presentation here, saying the following thing: the BRICS, Asian powers, not only Asian powers, also some Latin American powers and South Africa, have done a lot of a great achievement. They have put a break to the dominant Western, so to say, power. Now we have, if we want not to have more and more catastrophes, more serious catastrophes, humanity has to develop a new vision. It is not enough to refuse America's or dollars domination. We need to present a new vision for a new world order, a sustainable, ecological, social, equality world order. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dimitris. From Athens. Now, Dragana, are you there? Dragana Mitrovic from Serbia.
Hello, yes, I'm here. Okay.
Oh, okay. So, Dragana Mitrovic is a professor of economics at the University of Belgrade. Now, can you speak as short as others? It means around 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'll try. For sure, we'll try.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much for this opportunity. Good morning, good afternoon to everybody. It's a real pleasure and honor to be today with all of you. I'll try to be very short, but still clear, hopefully. I will first start with Southeast Asia and what happened with the after the presidential and parliamentary elections in Taiwan, because crisis in the Taiwan Straits was one of the biggest topic and disturbances or challenges to global peace in last few years. And generally speaking, it is one of the hotspots that could easily turn into something that no responsible person would like to see happening to our planet. And after the third in row, DPP candidate won these elections, although the developments in the parliament were the opposite. Geopolitical tensions actually in Taiwan Straits will not be eased. On the contrary, I think that the new President Lai, especially having in mind his political profile, although for sure he will become softer as a president for sure, that will be especially tricky situation because of the election year in the United States of America, because whatever we see around the world now is impacted by the election year. And so we can for sure say that the current situation demands wisdom and restraint from both sides of the Taiwan Straits, although as we can continue to expect the expanding US pressure in the region. Of course, People's Republic of China as a great power has to protect either its sovereignty, but also its great power image and in the international community, and to counterbalance aggressive provocations in South China Sea, but also trade and technological war. And all these developments are challenging the prospects for recovery of the global economy, connectivity, or positive trends. Also, Israel's total war against Palestinians in Gaza and elsewhere, and attack on several neighbors and militant groups in several neighboring countries, backed and coordinated with the United States of America and UK, threatened to spread and transform this conflict into beyond being unthinkable tragedy and even called genocide by many, into a much more dangerous war, destroying previous efforts and peace initiatives and economic prospects for the region and its connectivity with other regions, either in Africa, of course, and Asia. So the troubled Middle East and South Asia turned into areas of destruction and instability instead of connectivity and prosperous gathering that was announced through various initiatives. Development in Ukraine on the front lines and estimations of the future advances and the outcomes of that war, and the mobilization and the biggest NATO military exercise in Europe actually not only caused this crisis in Ukraine, but also expresses the anxiety of the United States of America to regain its hegemonic position and its clout in every corner of our planet. Even obviously it is not capable anymore to draw respect, obedience, and its influence. But of course, this moment of history is particularly dangerous because for sure it still contains capacity to destroy almost every country and for sure global peace and stability. So it again requires positive and opposite actions against this danger. It seriously hinders positive developments coming from BRICS expansion Shanghai Cooperation Organization enlargements, and similar powerful South-South initiatives and projects that suit Asia's and Global South developmental needs, because poverty is our enemy. And we've heard about the challenges to global peace, stability, and prosperity, and they are not geopolitical ones. But we also heard about this war party, and we are witnessing what they've been doing. So that these are some of the ideas I wanted to share with you, just as thoughts that could inspire or just ask you to think into these directions, or contribute, or ask me some more questions. So anyway, thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Dragana. Now we go to Poland. Grażong, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Okay.
Good morning.
Yes. So, Grażong Simek is a professor of politics. Sorry, I introduced you very short. Grażong Simek is a professor of international relations and political sciences at Navy Academic, how do you say, in Gdynia in Poland. Now, you turn the rise of Asia and wars. What is your perspective, your thought, etc., etc., in 5 minutes, okay?
Okay, thank you. Let me do the remark of a few important processes related to the global geopolitics. Let me start from European. So we observe the strategic disorientation observed especially in the European part of the collective West. European Union has joined the Anglo-Saxon geostrategy of containing Russia and Ukraine. It's a very good category created by Professor Kees van der Pijl about Anglo-Saxon heartland. I have this very interesting book in Poland, but it's also in English, the strategy of Ukraine, which has been written by this Netherlands professor, very important. So the consequence of which is severed economic ties with Moscow by European Union, resulting in increased production costs, creeping the industrializations and looming economic crisis for Germany. The benefits accrue not only to China, but first of all, the United States, which makes Europeans pay several times more for gas than they do at home. So the updated American geostrategy, which is would be described in few sentences: US in, Russia out, German down, is therefore working perfectly. Europe's geopolitical fragmentation means on the one hand Italy's withdrawal from China Belt and Road Initiative, probably by persuasion from the United States, and other Slovakia joining Hungary whose geopolitical codes against Brussels and Washington do not have an anti-Russian face. Uncertainty can also be seen in Paris, which, remembering the humiliation suffered by the Anglo-Saxon heartland axis at the formation of AUKUS, is writing on all sides, but talking about strategic autonomy of European Union and the European Army, be it approaching India, be it ineffectively inviting itself to the BRICS summit. Although Macron no longer wants blind Atlantism after his visit to Beijing, he also does not support Eurasianism. Perhaps this is why France, together with Germany, is coming up with an initiative to federalize the European Union, to build a super state, to create a pan-regional bloc, which could be the rival for the Eurasian partnership and the Anglo-American route-based order. The real possibility of this scenario is evidenced by the transformation of U.S. coalition of the willing to pacify the Yemeni Houthis into a coalition of the unwilling. As among the 20 countries Washington has spoken of, only London is certain. as many as half are willing to reveal themselves. This year, 2024, is extremely important because of the possibility of return to office of United States President by Donald Trump. Attempts to legally stop his candidacy and the intense propaganda in the neoconservative controlled media legitimately indicate that the battle is over the US political concept. There are many indications that this time Trump will choose better collaborators in the realization of the idea of transforming the United States from a postmodern empire pursuing the global interest of LGBT-flagged Davos class. By the way, whose influence has reached the Vatican itself, to a strong power based on the interest of American real capital and traditional American values, but not so much related to the ideology of universalism and messianism, as we observe now. The antagonistic contradictions between Trumpism and globalists can be seen in the gripping civil war for now in legal and ideological terms, but with the growing banking crisis, rising inequality, problems with infrastructure and drug addiction, and loss of global influence, and last time by the problems of defending the border in Texas. These contradictions and civil war could likely to take a more radical form by the end of the year. But the proponents of maintaining the empire are still confident, which is why, despite of record debt of $34 billion, the Biden administration has decided to allocate as much as $886 billion on the military in 2024. The year 2024 thus promises to be a period of radical accelerating geopolitical change. The tendency to consider the multipolar world will encounter a counter tendency to defend U.S. advantages and retain influence in the collective West. The former includes the further expansion of the BRICS group, further the dollarization, a possible systemic transformation in Russia and China, and an increased awareness of global public opinion towards supporting peace, stability, and reduction of the corporate agenda promoted by the Davos class, which we now observe in the peasant mobilization in Europe and also in Poland, which I observe around me, and it is a good, very good movement which couldn't be seen in Poland for many years. The counter-trend, on the other hand, could mean a greater projection of U.S. military power in Asia and Middle East, consolidation of NATO and the reduction of autonomy aspirations in the European Union, and finally, a desperate search for a bailout of the financial system based on empty dollar. In this competition, therefore, one has to reckon with new conflicts around Taiwan, the Philippines, the Koreas, a clash with Iran, and even greater U.S. interference in the affairs of Mexico, which openly aspires to join the BRICS group by rejecting Washington's neocolonial dictators. So we observe very antagonistic contradictions in a variety of levels, and if we want to make some optimistic assumptions, I think that the most optimal solution that would give hope of averting a global military confrontation would be a conference organized at the end or in the early 2025 with the participation of Trump, Xi Jinping, and Putin, which could also include the leaders of Brazil, Germany, France, India, and South Africa, and maybe also Indonesia. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Grajean. Thank you very much. Now we go to Hungary. Istvan, are you there?
Yes, Darius, I'm
yes. Here. So, Istvan Tarosi, Professor of Political Sciences, International Relations at Pécs University of Hungary and African Studies as well. He's founder and director of African Studies Center at the University of Pécs, Hungary. Now, 5 minutes, it's okay, Isvan?
Yes, thank you so much, Darvis. Thank you. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really grateful for the invitation. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I wish to point out a couple of things or underscore, probably that's better to say, underscore some of the thoughts that have already been mentioned and coupled with a couple of my other items on the agenda, which is connected to basically this kind of geopolitical scenario. Our Polish friend Gracjan also talked about, because we live in a very, very firm age of uncertainty and age and era of insecurities and risks, and many of these are man-made problems, as we know. So talking about civil wars, armed conflicts, violent extremism on the rise, and coup d'etats. And as a matter of fact, if you look into the African continent, the Sahel zone is already labeled as the coup belt, as we all know, by the 2020s, because a lot of countries, 2020, 2021, 22, 23, have been experiencing coup d'etats. So we see that a lot of attention is given now to these armed conflicts, and a lot of money actually is spent on these problems, spending enormous money on the military. And I really can agree with Professor Parihar about the question, why should we afford war, as a matter of fact, to that extent? And let me recall what Oxfam from 2007 published already then, by focusing on a period between 1990 and 2006, focusing on Africa. And in that report, we could read that $300 billion was lost due to armed conflict in 23 countries of the continent during those years. And this sum was equivalent to international aid from major donors in the same period that could have solved the problems of HIV/AIDS in Africa, or could have addressed Africa's needs in education, clean water and sanitation, and prevent tuberculosis and malaria, for instance. So a lot of human security related aspects. And on an annual basis, 15% GDP lost was reported. Enormous economic burden we are talking about. So why should we afford war? I think you are so very right addressing that issue versus, for instance, the SDGs. But of course, the answers are all there with all the geopolitical interests connected to national security. And what we can see basically is amidst the rise of international terrorism, we see, of course, the among the number one problems, the rise of violent extremism, which, for instance, again, in the case of Africa, remains one of the most pressing security threats, also according to the Africa Center for Strategic Studies. So amidst all these things, we see more and more vulnerabilities, more and more weaknesses, straight fragilities, and at the same time, we would need concerted efforts. All of us have been addressing that. Concerted efforts is very much needed. For instance, in terms of new global governance, as it was mentioned in the keynote, and I would add a global security governance, as a matter of fact. So that's a task for all. And in the background, of course, we see the very problem areas, because as long as we hear America first, as we can hear Hungary first, and so on and so forth. And in the background, of course, we see the rise of, new nationalisms. This kind of concerted effort is very, very hard to achieve. Without this, however, I don't think any of these risks and problems and insecurities and uncertainties could be targeted in the proper manner. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Bravo, Isvan. It's 4 minutes. It's perfect. Now, I don't see Aisha. Aisha from Morocco. She's supposed to be a speaker, but I don't see on screen. Now we go to Brazil, Rio de Janeiro. Beatriz, are you there? Beatriz.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm here.
perfect.
Hello.
Yeah. So, Beatriz Bicio is professor, a historian, professor of international relations and history at the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. So she will speak from Rio de Janeiro. What time is it now in your city?
It is 10 minutes to 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock, say early in the morning. So now,
Very early, yeah.
if you can, well, if you can speak like others, 5 minutes, it's okay. The rise
It's
of
okay,
Asia and wars and maybe the perspective of Brazil or Latin America. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much, Darwish. I'm very pleased and very happy to see you all, dear colleagues and friends. Yeah, I'm speaking from Rio, and now in these days, yesterday and today, Rio is the venue of the G20 meeting of foreign affairs ministers. So we are in a very an important company. Anthony Blinken is here in the city. Of course, all the main figures of the diplomacy, the international diplomacy are here. We are with a lot of foreigners, correspondents, etc. But the tensions are very high at this moment, particularly in Brazil, but not only in Brazil. Of course, Sergei Lavrov is also here, has been very, very important declarations has made. Why I am saying that we are among a very important tension in Brazil, because as we are discussing in this conference, there are the consequences, in my view, of the race of Asia, and I will say the race also of the global South, and what this means for the US aspirations to be the only one to dictate the rules in the world. The dispute between the US and Asia, mainly with China, is really the background, in my opinion, of all the tensions we are living, and in particular, we have to focus on the two main conflicts we are in this moment realizing that have no end: Gaza mainly, and of course also Ukraine. In this moment, the only voice that has been very, very critical of the genocide in Gaza has been of President Lula. And President Lula needs to be supported, because I think that Brazil and South Africa have been the main actors to react to this genocide in Gaza. Not only in Gaza, it has been mentioned by other colleagues that Israel is also bombing Syria, the southern part of Lebanon, and etc. So yesterday we have been watching the very important report and speech of Makram Houri, who has put the question, the very important question: who else could be allowed to kill each day more than 200 people, if not Israel, and its role that has been mentioned by many other colleagues in the present geopolitics. So I think that today we are, with these conflicts as the background, we are in a moment in history that, because of its importance, is really a turning point. I think we are living on a turning point because the structures that has been built after the Second World War is collapsing. is collapsing in front of our eyes. And for instance, what means nowadays the role of the United Nations in face of these conflicts? It was built and was created, it was founded to avoid conflict. We, the people of the world, says the chapter, the first phrase of the United Nations chapter. We are looking for peace. So we need, what we need, many other colleagues have mentioned that, we need to be together, to be, I think in some way, Samir Amin's dream of a new internationalism is demanding, is being demanded by this moment. We need a new Bandung, but not only the Bandung of the 1955, because it was meant by the period correctly for the struggle of the states, the new states, to have their voice heard by the world. Now, of course, we need the BRICS, the BRICS, for instance, which is one of the main actors we have in this moment to as a counter weight for unilateralism. It is, of course, founded by states. So states are still very, very important, but they need peoples. We need people, the peoples of the South, the peoples of Asia, to understand their force, their potential, and to transform this potential into action. If not, many of you have already mentioned that we have not much time to avoid a catastrophe that could mean the end of the human beings in planet Earth. And we still haven't colonies in the moon or Mars or whatever it is to have the possibilities to survive if our planet collapses. So I think we are in this turning point, and the global South and Asia are the ones who can be who can make a new route, a new future for human beings. But it's not in the next months or in the next year to be seen. We have to build this unity. And I insist, as I have been insisting in other speeches I have made among us, the role of information and communication. In Latin America, for instance, in this moment, there is, by the mainstream media, a war against President Lula, because they are denouncing that he is denying, for instance, they say Lula has denied Holocaust. That is not true. Lula hasn't denied Holocaust. He has said in Ethiopia that it is incredible that Israel is doing to the Palestinians the same that has suffered from the Nazis. That is not denying the Holocaust. On the contrary, he is saying, please don't reproduce what you have suffered from the Nazism. But the media transformed that declaration, which is an honest and real declaration. Many, for instance, Petro from Colombia has said, no, Lula has said what is truth. We have in our eyes that he said the truth. But the mass media distorts it, everything, and creates a real barrier to have the consciousness of the people of what we really are facing in this moment and what the real challenges are, creating ghosts that don't exist. So my message, and I don't want to extrapolate my 5 minutes, is that the race of Asia has in this moment is in this moment the background of all the conflicts, because the reaction, the furious reaction of these Western, particularly Western important powers, mainly the US and the UK, are reacting to the possibility, the real possibility they are facing of losing the control and losing the power they have in the past. So with this background, I think the rise of Asia, with the rise of the global South, which is the global majority of the world, and of course the honest people in other latitudes, in Europe, even in the US, we have to create this new internationalism Samira Means dreamed of, to face the challenge, for the first time, of humanity to disappear. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Beatrice. Thank you very much. Now, we are already 12:03. Maybe we can take some time for discussion. So I will give time now to Isaac to manage the discussion. So, Isaac, it's your time now.
So thank you to all presenters. Thank you for your contributions. Now let's take, I would say, 15 minutes or so 4 questions from the audience here offline and from our colleagues online. Let's just take short questions and also short responses so that we can hear. Yes, please, Noel Ndoba, and here in the audience. Other questions? We also have the privilege to welcome students, and please don't be shy and ask your questions. So, do you have questions? Raise your hand and just let's hear. So Noel will start, and then we will collect other questions later on. Thank you.
So I think about wars, about Asia and wars, and especially about Asia, Africa and wars. It's important to consider what I call low intensity and long-term wars that occurred in Africa now. For example, in Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger. They are in a new political entity, a new political system called Alliance of Sahel States. And it's not only against terrorism, against international terrorism or local terrorism, as Isaac had said. It's an anti-colonialist organization they have built. But what's very important is to consider that it's a war for natural resources. There is gold, there is oil, there is uranium in Sahel. And we have not to forget that for capitalism. It's the same thing in Democratic Republic of Congo. Rwanda, I think, has the same role as Israel for the international system. It's for finance, for Western capitalism in Africa. Rwanda has the same role as some countries like Israel. And what's happening in east of Democratic Republic of Congo is that Rwanda now is exporting lithium, is exporting cobalt, is exporting all the critical minerals that are very necessary for the new industrial revolution. Rwanda has no mineral in his space. Rwanda is only exploiting Congolese resources. So it's not an inter-ethnic war. It's a war for natural resources and a war for finance, international finance.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. So do we have other comments or questions? Go. No other questions. So, Paulo, please.
Well, I go back to some of the speeches that were done by the colleagues. And now? It's okay? Okay. Now, I want to go back to some of the other previous meetings we had here. I remember in 2019 we were talking and discussing about BRICS. BRICS survive or go down 4 years ago. Luckily, we are seeing that this enlargement that we were thinking was going on is working, and we have been hearing all around about new vision, about new model, about new internationalism, and what was saying Beatrice Bisio, I think we are at a redirezione. We are at a turning point. This has been happening in the last period, and the two wars, and the last one of Palestine really showing the collapse of the entire system. So, but I would say that I think that also in Europe, in the Western world and like that, we are many people who is opposing. Someone was talking, I think, from Poland. Italy was forced to leave the BRI, the Belt and Road Initiative, was one of the two European countries that was signing it about 7, 8 years ago, and a few months ago we were obliged to leave. But luckily we had a bilateral agreement of 1976, much stronger than the BRI, and so we will continue in this activity of continue talking with all the new players and like that. We have to be realistic, we have to continue to push, absolutely, and starting from what we were meaning from Beatrice and from Isaac and like that, from the countries of the Global South, because the Global South is now the global majority. We have to make clear to the Western world that we are representing no more than the 15% of the world population, and less of the internal PB. So we are going away, and someone else has to be arriving now. Thank you.
Thank you. So, thank you. If the panelists wish to say something, please, 1 minute for your comments. Yes, please. 1 minute. And the other panelists will also have the possibility to say something. Thanks.
2 points, please. The first one is with regards to the contribution of our colleague from Brazil, Professor Beatrice Bisio. She was talking about the distortion in the media with regards to the a statement made by President Lula. Well, as I said earlier in the presentation, there is a difference between international relations, diplomatic ties, and political communication. We've just seen now in the last hours that Blinken, the American Foreign Secretary, went and met with President Lula, and he praised him. So this comes to show how things work in a different way in real life. The second and last point is with regards to the natural resources. My friend, right you are. It is what we see, obviously, in Palestine at the moment is a cleansocide, is an ethnic cleansing and genocide. However, underneath or beneath, of course, there are the issues of economy. If you look at the Gaza Strip, it's that strip, that stretch from Syria down to Egypt, and inside historical Palestine, it's from Lebanon, Ras al-Naqura, Acre, Haifa, Caesarea, Jaffa, and then the Gaza Strip. It's a most beautiful strip of land, which obviously the Israeli occupation would like to have and continue its promenade in, obviously, that part of the world, in addition to the natural resources that they have just discovered. And they would like, obviously, to occupy the land, get rid of the Palestinian population so that they have full control of the demography with virtually no Palestinian demography.
Thank you for your comments. Let's see. Do you have comments? Now, the other panelists, Dimitris, and you take 1 minute. Is it okay? The other panelists, Dimitris, and those on online or here offline in the audience, if you want to say something, a closing word. No? Thank you. Okay. So thank you so much for your contributions. Yes, we close now, and because they have the possibility, they had the possibility to say a final word in reaction. Okay. Okay, then thank you. So thanks for this morning, for the discussions and the presentations. I mean, we will have a follow-up with the publications, and this conference is still going on. We will also have the possibility to discuss the issues. So thank you so much. Back to you, Darwis. I don't know what is coming next.
So in the afternoon, starting from 2 o'clock, there will be parallel sessions and 8 simultaneous sessions. Our team, students, will manage. In every room, there will be room assistants. 2 persons for hybrid and 1 person for virtual, fully virtual room. And now we will have lunch at the university restaurant. And everybody has to have the ticket. So it is, you will have the ticket, and you don't need to pay anything. With the ticket, you can have lunch at our university, or authorized to have, but no alcohol drink. You have, of course, water and cafe after, but you have also